I'm just an average guy who loves the outdoors. I love to hunt and I love to fish. Somewhere along the way I ended up with a video camera in my hand. So now I'm just cruising around checking out cool destinations. So sit back, put your feet up and come on along. I'm Brian Whitens, and this is where I've been. If you enjoy being in the outdoors and you love adventure, sooner or later you're going to end up in a canoe or a kayak. Canoes and kayaks offer the freedom to travel to places impossible to reach otherwise. And there's something peaceful about being in a canoe or a kayak. You just feel so much more connected to the water than in a boat. Whether it's an afternoon gliding across a glassy lake or a 10-day adventure trip through some remote wilderness, there are things you need to know about canoes and kayaks that are essential to a safe and enjoyable experience. In my travels, I met up with Scott Green of Green Adventures in Kenora, Ontario. Adventure is what Scott does. Scott has been guiding since the age of 13 and is a certified canoe and kayak instructor. I had the opportunity to visit with Scott and find out a lot more about canoes and kayaks, which to use when, the differences, and the right way to use them.
So I'm Scott Green of Green Adventures. Try to offer everything to get people out there. Canoeing, kayaking, stand-up paddleboarding, fishing, lake tours, rock climbing, shore lunches, pretty much anything in the outdoors I like to share with everybody. You can go anywhere from $10 an hour if you want to just stop by when you're driving across Canada, all the way up to week-long trips. We go way up north to Big Moose Country, where you see a lot more eagles and wildlife than you'll ever see people. The food's all looked after, all your equipment's looked after. So there's really no excuses why you can't do it. I'm just going to go over a few basics of the kayak. Today we have a current design Storm, which is 17 foot long. The cockpit's centered right in the middle. Up ahead here we have a compartment to store gear in, as well as in the back. So these are two dry areas. Bulkhead right about here where your feet will end, so that this will keep you afloat. Misconception is that they're really tippy. They're actually more stable than a canoe because your center of gravity is inside below the water line. So if I was to get in this, I'm a bigger guy. This is why I really like this boat, nice and stable. You can grab your kayak paddle here and kind of an outrigger, sit right there. If you're on a beach or dock, then just one leg in, another leg in. And now, as you can see in the kayak, you can have a spray skirt that'll go around the coaming. So if it's raining or if there's waves coming over you, a nice spray skirt will go over top of here. With a kayak, they're quicker than a canoe in the water, heavier winds, you're low profile. Your water line is going to be right here, so you're showing very little boat outside of the water. So you can travel quite a bit further in heavier winds than a canoe. Drip rings, your water is going to come down here, hit these and drip in the water so that you're not getting water into your cockpit. So when I'm paddling, a lot of people paddle it like a canoe, so they want to stay real close to the kayak. So you'll see hands way up, which isn't the best stroke. With a kayak, you want to stay nice and low and get out as far as possible. And then just a nice stroke, pretending you have a beach ball in here, and just kind of using your abs just to stroke. You're putting in about where your toes are at and coming up where your hip is at on both sides. This boat is equipped with a rudder, so you can steer with a rudder while you're going, as well as various strokes that we'll go over in a bit. So just to go a little further on the stroke part of it, right here is where I'd be sitting. So if we were to say that this is the first third, this angle here, your boat will turn anytime that you get your paddle stroke into here. Your boat's going to go forward through this portion, and then your boat's going to turn as well in this portion. So if you're paddling close to the boat, it's like wearing a size 2 shoe. You're just taking little baby steps. So if you can get further out into this third and paddle out here, you're getting more bang for your buck for your forward stroke. Now if you want to turn your boat, you would just come into the third and turn your boat doing a big sweeping stroke. A forward sweep would look like this, and a reverse sweep would start at the back and go to the front. Those 3 key strokes just to get into the sport is going to allow you to turn your boat and go in a straight line. If you want to stop, you're just going to slam on the brakes going in backwards, and then you can turn that into a reverse stroke. So those are pretty much the basic strokes, some draws and some stuff that we can show you on the water. But basically, to get out on the lake, that's about all you need to know. So one of the most common questions I get asked is what to do if you're out by yourself and you were to tip your kayak. Maybe a wave gets you or something, you're reaching over for something and you were to tip. You just have to do a wet exit, which when you flip, you're just going to pop your spray skirt and push yourself out of the boat, which I've always seen just naturally done. We practice it if you want to ahead of a trip, but almost, well actually 100% of the time, everyone's always managed to get themselves out of the boat. And now you just have a boat that's flipped over. So you would just right it so that it's sitting like how we are now. And you'll get something like this. This is a paddle float. I like to just store it behind my seat. And what I'm going to do is it just inflates. So I just blow it up. And I would do that while I'm holding onto my boat. Then I would just stick one end of this paddle into here. There's two ends that I'd blow up. Get your paddle into this end here. And now it's going to act as a outrigger. This goes around here, buckles up so it can't come off my paddle. Of course, all this has to be done in the water, so it's definitely worth practicing. Do this buckle up. It now can't come off my paddle. I can blow the other end up. I'm going to take my paddle, and there's these bungees here. I'm going to go under the two bungees here. But now I have created an outrig. So then I would come here, I'd push up on the boat, push down on this paddle, and get my belly onto here. And then when my belly's onto there, I'd sneak in, just like this. Biggest part is you want to lean towards the paddle so the boat can't flip over. Now there might be some water in your boat. You'd have a bilge pump, bilge out your water, put your spray skirt back on, and then take your paddle, take this off, put it away, and then you're back to paddling again. So what we have here is 17 foot, which of course is going to track like a dart, so it's going to be nice and straight. You can carry gear in it, but maybe you want to just go down some rapids and you don't want to have such a big volume of a boat. They'll make a whitewater boat, which is going to be anywhere between 6 to 8 feet long, depending on what you want to do. And those won't have any compartments, any flotation. So your skirt and yourself is the flotation. You might put some airbags at the ends to keep it afloat. But those are going to be really tiny and really maneuverable, so that when you're going down white water, you can really creak past a rock here or eddy out here, whatever you want to do. And those boats almost all the time are going to be some sort of plastic boat, because you're going to be bouncing it off rocks and such. The kayak that I showed you today is a plastic kayak. It gets scratched up, but it doesn't ever really wear on the boat. Other types of kayaks that are out there are Kevlar, fiberglass, which have different qualities. Plastic's going to weigh the most, but it's going to be the most durable. Kevlar is going to be the lightest, except it's going to be a little more fragile, so you don't really want to scrape it up over rocks. If you want to portage these, I find I don't even take the stuff out. If I'm with a crew of guys, we'll just get a couple people on the back, a couple people on the front, not even worry about emptying them, and then just portage them over. If you had a Kevlar or fiberglass one, that's going to be terrible for your boat and it'll make a lot of people cringe out there for sure. So the things you're really looking for is the weight of the boat and the durability of the boat when you're looking to buy, and then of course the cost. Fiberglass and Kevlar boats, lighter, going to be faster in the water, track better, but plastic really durable and great for rentals and to do really big trips up here in northwestern Ontario. So depending on what you want to do, there's literally a boat for everything that you could think of doing on the water. Okay, so the next thing we have here is Canoe. Again, 17-foot long. This one here is an aluminum canoe. Aluminum, good thing about aluminum canoes is their weight to durability is unbelievable. These canoes here are probably about 25 years old, been through quite a bit, but they're still seaworthy. As you can see right from the get-go, is there's a ton of space for gear. So the thing I like to do is if I'm doing a trip, I might take a canoe as a support boat, because I can put a nice big cooler right here. I can put a nice big cooler like I can't in a kayak that can fit all my vegetables and stuff that I want to keep cold, maybe a case of canned pop, right? Just in case. Right here. You got a lot of space here for barrels and backpacks and stuff. So this is the bow of the boat. So your legs can go here. And the person in the bow is in a touring situation, is on the lookout for rocks and stuff ahead, but mostly just the power of the boat. They just get a nice stroke going, and they're the power of the boat. The person in the back, or the stern of the canoe, they're responsible for steering. Now that can be quite a headache when you first get into canoeing. You can find that maybe your boat's zigzagging with wind and stuff. You add that, it can get pretty frustrating. So the best advice I like to give is to be the fawns when you are in the stern of the boat. So you have to have your thumb up, just like the fawns, right? So when you're paddling, you can do a J stroke. So you rotate your thumb down, and that's going to take your power surface. You're going to paddle through, and then you're going to have a bit of a rudder. So if I was in the boat like this, and I'm paddling through, and then rotating back. So then when I'm pushing the back of my canoe, I can really see from the bow of my boat which way the boat's going to be going. And every stroke, I'm just playing with that. So you don't really want to do some strokes on this side and then switch over to here. Every time water's getting in here and you're losing a stroke, so your boat's gonna meander on you. So for most part, the J stroke's your most important stroke. Paddling forward, like the fawns, thumb down, and then you can have a rudder, just like that. As you can see, my butt is higher off the water than when I was in the kayak, so it's a little stable, so you never want to stand up in a canoe. You might want to kneel in a canoe like this, nice and stable if the water's getting pretty choppy. Same with the person in the front. This obviously can hold a lot more than a kayak, fishing rods, all that sort of stuff. Of course, in this boat, we would need 2 people. So that's kind of why I got into kayaking. I could go by myself. You can solo canoes, of course. You're just gonna sit in the middle, like this, lean over, but now I have so much ahead of me and so much behind me, and one single blade. It's gonna take quite a bit, and the profile of the boat in the water can really be affected by the wind, as opposed to a kayak that's sitting low in the water and you have 2 blades, so you can really control it that way. Canoes, of course, come in all different makes and types. You're going to look at the rocker of your boat. So what your boat does this way, if it's nice and flat, it's going to go straight. If it's got a big rocker, it's going to turn easier. Then you've got the tumble home of the boat, so how it comes up. So if it's got a hard chine, it's going to have first and second stability. If it's a big tub, it's going to just feel like a big tub. And that's going to be how it tracks in the water as well. Different types of canoes. This is an aluminum canoe. There's wood canoes, cedar strip canoes, there's ABS canoes, fiberglass, Kevlar, you name it. When you're looking for a canoe, you got to really think about what you're going to use the canoe for. If you want to just do whitewater trips, then you're going to want to have a boat that's got a big rocker to it so that you can maneuver down whitewater. If you're going to do trips where you're going to be portaging a lot, then you probably want to go for a light Kevlar boat. If you're like me and you're in the business of renting out canoes and kind of not looking after them the best in the sense that you're dragging them up and people are banging around, then an aluminum canoe is really hard to beat. Of course, you got to wear lots of sunscreen when you're in an aluminum canoe because it's acting as a pretty good tanning bed. And other than that, just get out and enjoy yourself. So portaging a boat, you just want to reach across, bring it up. Now, you can see that it's going to be its balance point. So when you're canoeing, you can just bring it up. Move your paddle up a bit, and away we go. Okay, so we're just gonna go for a nice little paddle here. So I got my thumb up. Like I said, your throat here, want a couple inches there. When you're paddling, you wanna stay nice and up and down, nice and vertical. So I'm just gonna, as you can see, I'm gonna push like that J stroke, so my thumb, point it down. I can push away. So when I'm paddling, stroke, I can see the bow of my boat going. You don't have to have a heavy grip on it, you can see, just kind of make it an art form. So I don't ever have to switch the side that I'm paddling on. So that's going to get me in a straight line. Now if I want to turn, I can really announce that pry. So I can really just push away from the boat like I am there. If I want to bring it around, I can pull water underneath my boat, which is a draw. So the person in the front of the boat is just going to pick their favorite side to paddle on, and the person in the back can see when they get tired and they want to switch. So when the person in the front says, oh, I'm tired on that side, they're going to switch sides. Then I'm just going to switch sides. Then I should be able to do that J-stroke and everything just as equally as well on the other side of the boat. So the person in the front is going to be the motor. They're going to keep going, and I'm just going to be concentrating on steering that boat. If you need to, you can do a dry praw. So I'm prying the boat around, but you always want to look at the bow of your boat, where the bow of your boat's going, and never lose control that way, or else you'll be zigzagging, and of course the straight line is the quickest route to your destination. Okay, so another cool way to get out on the water is just a relatively new sport, which is a playoff surfing, these stand-up paddleboards, or SUPs as they're commonly referred to. Right here we have a SurfTech 10'6" French board, and it pretty much as simple as it says is you stand up on it, you paddle it around. Really light board, so you can put it in those little hard to get to lakes. If you want to go fishing, you can cast off them, go all sorts of stuff. It comes with the biggest paddle. When you paddle, you want to just have your wrist go over top of it, so that when you're paddling, you're just paddling through the water. Paddle on your right side, trying to get underneath the board. That J-stroke, just like we were talking about before, get a good momentum going, and you can go forever. If you do come into some winds, you can drop down onto your knees and paddle like that. They even make some with a little bit of a backrest, and you can kayak paddle them in. You have a leash. You attach a leash to them, then it serves as your PFD, and you can throw them in the back of a car with a fishing rod, paddle, and you're good to go. A little backpack on, or you can even get a little deck gear here to put your snacks and stuff in, and I've known people to do camping trips on them. Great new sport.
During my visit to Kenora, I stayed at the area's premier campground, Anishinaabe Park.
This campground it's full of everything. We have RV sites, full service, lake view. They're all graveled. Some of the sites even have little decks. We also have 10 sites right on the water, up tucked away in the bush. There's also a public park that comes with a play structure for the kids and a beautiful sandy beach. It's a quiet little bay and perfect for swimming. Down at the office, we also have a convenience center where there's full service laundry facilities for any of our guests. We do have a ton of wildlife in the park. You'll see beautiful deer, tons of them within the park. I've seen fox, we have black bear. It's a beautiful walk right to downtown Kenora. Kenora is full of music and entertainment and just a wealth of culture.
Another great thing that the Canadian Shield brings is beautiful rocks to climb. It gives us lakes to paddle on and to fish in and everything, but also provides a great opportunity for climbing, which is a completely safe and exhilarating sport. Today we're just going to take a couple of people climbing for the first time, and it really is something that you have to try in your life. So if you find yourself up in northwestern Ontario, definitely try out rock climbing. So the equipment is completely safe. It's big enough to hoist a Volkswagen Beetle, which obviously nobody here is that big. The rope and the system is completely redundant, so if some part of the system fails, another system will catch that slack. There's different grades of climbs, anywhere from a 5.1 to a 5.12. What we're climbing today is a 5.6, so it's right in the mediocre stage, which is great. It provides enough challenge so that you can make the climb, but when you're at the top, you really still feel that sense of accomplishment. There's all sorts of beautiful sports to get into, but rock climbing really brings you that intrinsic feeling because it's just you and the rock. It's a cheap sport to get into. You need a pair of shoes, a harness, and some ropes, and definitely enough education to know that what you're doing is the right thing to be doing. It's not one of those sports that you want to just introduce yourself into. You definitely want to take some courses. Safety is a priority when you're rock climbing. You want to make sure that you always have a helmet and your harnesses are checked all the time, your ropes are checked all the time. Yeah, it's one of those sports that nothing should go wrong, but if something does go wrong, it goes bad really quick. So it's definitely safety first. We try to stress that all the time at Green Adventures. Safety is the #1 consideration, but in rock climbing it definitely takes precedence. When you get to the top, you definitely get to rest all your limbs. You get to rest your legs and enjoy your view. You look down and that's when it hits you that what you just put behind you. You've got buddies that have made, climb mountains, and it's always the same when you summit it. That's a goal you set for yourself and you've achieved it. So that's a feeling that only you can hold, and rock climbing means so many things to different people. Youth, just to get out there and try it, and they find themselves really happy about getting out and trying it, maybe making it halfway up the rock, to people that are celebrating their 50th birthday who've never tried the sport before. It's a great family sport, friends, groups.
Well, hopefully today's show taught you a few things you didn't know about canoes and kayaks. More importantly, I hope it helped inspire you to strap a canoe or a kayak to the top of your car and find a place where the journey begins when the road ends. Adventure doesn't usually fall in your lap. You need to go out and find it. And whether that adventure is in northwestern Ontario or your own backyard, a canoe or a kayak can be just a ticket to make it happen.
Well, I guess the best part about it is when you've done all the planning and you've shut off the stove at home and you've got your whole life and you've got your bank account and everything, and everyone's put all that to the back burner for a while, and you just set out and you're just with nature, just the way that we're kind of meant to be. When you're out in the bush, it's just kind of everyone's created equal. So what I really like to see is when that look on their face when they get the fire started or they catch the big fish or they're feeding the family that night, and to look at those people's faces and to know that you brought them there, it kind of gives you a good intrinsic feeling knowing that that memory that they hold forever, that you had a small part to do on it to bring them to that place.
I'm Brian Whitens, and that's where I've been.